What's good, gamers? Welcome back to the channel. There's been a ban list. I have recorded this video yesterday or Monday already, and I cannot use that video anymore because there's a ban list. Now that's a good thing. I'm still upset, but we're gonna take a look at the meta to prepare you for the upcoming nationals. The upcoming weekend is gonna be national championship where a lot of people are going to play prank kits without good cards because they do not have anything else. But I do want to help you guys out to kind of prepare you with what I think, and I'm not a financial advisor, will be good this meta. Now, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. So we're going to discuss everything. This is still the same good old setup, but we did include a lot of cards from Typho, which we'll be releasing tomorrow to properly prepare you for all the upcoming events. So let's get straight up to work. At Ignister, it's garbage. Do not play it. No, it's actually Rogue. So for the tier system, tier 0 will be the absolute best deck of the format without any contest. This is just insane. We do not have that deck right now. Tier 1 are the decks that are going to be roughly 75% off top cut. Tier 2 are going to be the decks that are going to be roughly 20% of top cut. And Rogue is the deck that could theoretically fill in the 5%, but probably won't. You have to be a really good pilot in order for Rogue to work, but it's probably a waste of time because you could just be playing a straight up better deck. So I think that Rogue is definitely the way for Ignister to stay. Alistar the Invoker, I do not see how, especially now where people are going to run a lot of anti-fusion cards or even a lot of hand traps that do hurt Alistar already, do not see how this deck could be successful. Still think with the tools that it has, like the Shadow package that I am going to just include over here because Pure Shuttle doesn't exist. Still think that like a win that could be very, very solid, very, very good. But I just cannot see this being tier 2 or higher. Drytron got Ben 10 back. Normally I would put this all the way in row because it's just not that good. But that just one extra tick might just make it a little bit better. Now Drytron did lose Verte Anaconda, of course, which is huge for the deck. You can't play Dragoon, you cannot play TPE anymore, but you can still do a lot of the stuff that you could previously do. And you can do that with just a little bit more consistency. Just a little bit more consistency. So that's very, very nice, of course. But is it tier 1? Definitely not. Could this stop a YCS with the good player? Yes. Are any good players playing this? No. So do not expect that this is going to happen. The Trooper. Monday I placed the deck all the way over here. It lost Verte Anaconda. This deck is now all the way over here. Maybe even unplayable. You do get the advantage that you can run Retaliating and Contact C, which are very, very good against the meta, but the entire game plan of DPE, Brave, B, DPB, B, Rave, was the fact that you could rely on DPE, and you just cannot do that anymore. It's now a battling climb deck that can run sort of good hand traps, but it's unplayable right now. I'm sorry, B Trooper. It was fun while it lasted. We have Branded Fusion. Now, this used to represent the Branded Fusion decks that run like Verte Anaconda. For the Outditch decks, which I will just rate separately, that would have been very, very good. But since Verte is gone, it's going to be very difficult to just run the branded strategy as the Fusion engine because, you know, Verte is gone. So as the Fusion engine, the just Fusion, with Outditch it could be very good, but like standalone decks, like for example Char Brigade, did get ratioed hard. This now do know that this is not Despia, this is not branded, these are not those decks. Those are listed differently, but this was like the small amount of decks that would run the Verte package to make Mirror Jade. Pranks, of course, tier 1 with Meow Meow. Now it's unplayable. Avoid playing this deck. This deck died. You cannot consistently make up your board anymore without Meow Meow. You have to run the Fusion package, and that means that you cannot use other engines. Playing this deck is a complete cope and a waste of time. Do not play this. The Wonder is still tier 1, a very low tier 1 or very high tier 2. I do think that this deck is god-awful. You do not control when you win. You have very defined win conditions that can be countered, and overall you are just sacking your opponent rather than actually playing against them. Now there is a big difference between a good flow on a Reese and a bad flow on a Reese player, but the difference is just very marginal, and I do not think that if you are going to the YCS this is a deck you should pick, because people are at this point just very ready for you with Zombie World. Avoid this. Now, this is an interesting one. Brave is still just very, very good. Now, this picture represents the archetype engine. This used to be tier 0 because everyone was playing it, but nowadays it's very low tier 1, mainly because the fact that just all the decks that ran this are banned around Brave, which is very weird. They didn't touch Brave at all, but they did ban everything around it. So now we're gonna have to look at the Brave plants Tyrion decks or the Brave Punk decks in the near future that's coming out. So I am definitely down to put this in tier 1, but it's definitely not tier 2 as an engine alone. Life Twins run a lot of hand traps, which were not really that great last meta, so maybe this could be a nice rogue pick now. I think that this is definitely improved a little bit over the couple of days. DDD is just not great. Look, here's just the plain truth. If you're playing DDD, you're first of all on Copium. If you want to, can this deck top a YCS, first of all? Yes, I definitely think that this deck can top a YCS. But in order to do so, you have to have one of the best pilots of DDD in the world. And I do not think there's a single good competent player that's going to be picking this over any of the top decks at the YCS, this format. It also gets hit by a lot of the cards that a lot of other decks die to, like D-Barrier. Is it a good spot for anyone to just play this deck? No. If you're not one of the best players in the world like Pack, just avoid this. Guru is one of the few decks that can run Red Eyes Dark Dragoon now, but it's just... Trap decks are in such a bad spot right now. Trap decks are just in such a bad spot right now, unless you're specifically Outditch. This deck cannot deal with the Brave package at all. This deck also cannot deal with the branded Despia package. So yeah, it's just not the right tools, not a good moment for this deck. Maybe in the near future, but for now, Guru has been flipped out of control. Salads is becoming a lot better. This deck can definitely just kill you now, even more consistent than it was previously. With Heat Soul, this deck actually gets a little bit of a boost. I'm very confident putting this all the way up to tier 2. Very, very confident with that. This is a good deck. If you want to play this for your nationals, definitely do so. If you want to play this at the YCS, if you're very comfortable with it, you can definitely just do so. I would actually advise you to do that. If you do not have any real other options, it's really, really solid. Sky Striker has change of heart now, making it very, very solid. Sky Striker definitely be putting up to tier 2. Not singularly because of that card, but because the meta is really directed towards this. The Striker had a not that great Despia matchup first, but now that like Despia is going to be a main focus point for a lot of different decks, and a lot of other decks have become a little bit better as well. It's becoming a little bit better. Yes, it did lose DPE, but you do get a lot of different tools nowadays that you can play. So is it better than Salad? I would maybe not even say so, but I do think it's definitely deserving of tier 2. But I'm not really sure where to put it in the tier list right now. Virtual World got a huge buff. Huge buff. Especially now that like the Tenji pile decks are just completely gone. This deck did not lose anything at all. It didn't play DPE. It can still run Brave. And there's Punk support coming out in the near future. Definitely keep an eye up on this. This might even be tier 1 straight up. But we're going to have to wait and see. Because of course they did lose a little bit with the Aurora package being gone. With Cupid Pitch, etc. So the super wombo combo deck is kind of gone. And like someone in chat is saying right now, they did get a +1 to Desire, so a little bit more consistency. Keep an eye out for Virtual World. Keep an eye out for that one. It's good. Sword Soul is just one of the best decks, one of the 2 best decks of the entire format. This deck is just completely nuts right now. Yes, they did lose the Aurora combo, which some played, but they basically just got a Desire. So now the main version is just straight up better. It's actually insane that this was not touched in any consistent way possible. Retro Stingy Pile decks. It was fun. PK has been a little bit better now. They did lose DPE, but there are still ways to combo. But is it enough? That's the question. So losing DPE is just huge for this deck. Actually retracting that. I don't think this is good. I think that it's one of the worst spots to play PK right now, maybe. Is it even Rogue? is the question. I thought, oh yeah, no, this is better. A lot of other decks got like hit and buffed, etc. But it's like, how will this deck ever compete with Despia? Man, they lost DPE. Man, they fell off. Man, actually, it's awful. Actually feeling bad. These two can go like all the way over here. Damn, that was sad. Let's talk about something better. Char Brigade got 2 tankies, but they lost the entirety of the fusion package, bumping it all the way from tier 2 down to rogue. Congratulations. It looks like a lot of rogue decks were hit in the crossfire. It's not looking that great for very specific rogue decks. But, do you know what deck can play with 1 Rose Dragon? Dragon Link. The Dragon Link is a theoretical tier 1 deck. This is still one of the sickest deck in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! This deck can do so much. But Dimension Force is getting the brand new Contact Fusion with Albas. So if you have Dragon Link board, you have like your Hot Red, you have your Savage, you have your Spheres. Your opponent sets a card, looks you dead in the eye, and says, is that okay? You do not have a response. And your entire boards get Contact Fused away. Dragging this down all the way to tier 2. Now, really depending on your deck, this could be a tier 1 deck if you completely dodge Despia at Nationals or at the YCS. But you are not going to completely dodge Despia. And that means that this deck is just completely falling off way down. Very sad. Plunder Patrol can still run Brave. It's a little bit better now that DP is gone. So, yeah, Plunder's pretty good. Plunder's pretty good. I would put this somewhere here, somewhere here, somewhere here. These 3 decks are sort of similar in their placement. Plunder is pretty good. If you're a good Plunder player, it's pretty good. I like this deck a lot. It's solid. It works. Despia is just the best deck of the format, but it can be countered. Making me really think that Sword Soul is going to be the better deck. Not sure, chat. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think would be the better deck. I'm going to put these two both at tier 1, but I'm not really sure where to put them. Then we are going to Outditch. Now Outditch has sick. I have a very cool deck profile up on my channel right now that is actually 3rd place in the last format, but none of the cards were hit. So Outditch is pretty good right now. It definitely deserved the 2nd place at the last YCS, and it's still very good. We might see a little bit of a resurgence if you're innovative enough with this list. So definitely go check out the deck profile. Genuinely think this deserves to be here. It's definitely better than all the other decks in tier 2. Dino Raffia. If you use this as an ancient in Despia, it's kind of overdone. If you play this deck pure, it's kind of rogue. This deck can be unexpected because it's new, but is it really better than any of the decks in tier 2? I would just say no, unfortunately. Now we have Therion and Punk. Now these 2 decks are a little bit unknown right now. We do not know how people are going to play this. These are going to be the surprises at the YCS. What do I think of them? I think that these decks both are very cool. You have the Therion ABC deck or the Therion Plant deck. You have a Punk Wacky combo deck, and you can use that as an engine in multiple decks. I do think that we will be seeing these decks both very soon. Now Punk, of course, getting the brand new level 5, which will put the deck to an even better spot, and Therion being an altogether new deck. As a pure Therion deck, doesn't deserve to be this high, but as a small engine, it's going to be putting a lot of decks into competitive play, which is honestly just a very good thing. It's nice that we are losing some decks, getting some new decks. This ban list has really shaken up a lot of things, which I think is personally very solid. So we are looking at around 5 decks as tier 1, which is just pretty good. A lot of viable tier 2 decks that are also very solid. A lot of rogue decks that you can play, but it's going to be a little bit risky since they all kind of lost a little bit of power, or just have slightly worse matchups. And then we have a D tier, which is only really failed with the crossfire of the ban list, unfortunately. This is, yeah, those are the decks that definitely did lose out, the losers and the winners of the ban list. And yeah, let me know in the comment section down below what you think the ban is going to be. What do you think is going to be the winning the YCSs and the Nationals? Let me know in the comment section down below. And see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching.